Hey,
Hello.
hey, 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 how are
Um,
you?
I am, I think, 50% better, which to me is
Yay.
phenomenal. And with that said, I'm not sure what's going on with my progress because, I feel better, so I do more.
Yeah,
And
that is super common, by the way.
yeah,
Because you'll go through like, okay, I don't feel good, so I have to like rest and not do things, and then you start feeling good, and you're like, okay, I gotta make up for lost time. It's
yeah.
it's very common with like an injury like that. Very, very common.
So I think what's been happening is I've had increased stamina and
Mhm.
part of that's medication and part of that's healing.
Sure.
And when I say medication, I'm including, the oils and the
Mhm.
herbal supplements and
Right.
all
Are
of
you
that.
having to take pain meds or
So
anti-inflammatories?
I'm still taking a very low dose muscle relaxer
Mhm.
because the whiplash is still prevalent and every
Yeah,
time I
I
go
would stay
to
on that for a while.
Yeah. Every time I go to the PT, they find these little knots and they're like,
Yeah,
why do you keep having marbles in your neck? And I'm like, have you heard of whiplash? So,
yeah, yeah.
um, so with my progress, like I think I told you, like my PT has me doing all these different variations of walking and marching, like
Mhm.
side to side and tandem walk, like you're on a tightrope and everything.
Mhm.
Um, and now I can do every single one completely stable
Nice.
except the tandem walk. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, and then they have me doing a tandem stance on a cushion and just my feet side by side on a cushion,
Mm.
my eyes
Okay.
closed. Um, so all that was improving. And then all of a sudden, in the last week and a half, I'm stumbling again. My head's starting to hurt again, and it hasn't hurt in over a month. And the burning sensation, like the angry nerves that the doctor called it, that's happening again.
And the angry nerves, where are those happening at?
Across my skull, from the bottom of my skull across to just past the crown.
Okay. And stress levels have gone up, lack of sleep's gone up, like anything
I
that's
think
been
I think my sleep is about the same.
okay.
Um, uh, I think my stress level probably did go up, even though I wasn't aware of it, but I won't deny that it's a possibility because my husband had COVID 2 weeks ago,
Mhm.
and all of a sudden, I was taking care of him and double
Sure.
chores around the house, and
And you didn't get COVID though.
no, I
Yeah,
didn't.
tremendous because like having an injury like that, your immune system's compromised for a little bit, and so like everything you're doing is keeping you strong enough to where you're not getting sick. That's super good.
Yeah,
So, you know, there's kind of like stages or phases with whiplash, and
and I had the concussion.
yeah, I mean, there's things where it could just be like, oh, stress levels were up, maybe you moved a little bit. This is all temporary stuff while you're trying to get better, where maybe you overdid it or things like that. But at some point, the muscle that gets impacted by whiplash really impacts a lot of like function in your body. Like it impacts the inner ear, it impacts lymphatic function, it impacts some of the fight flight rest and repair, like how it shifts. It can impact your breath, it can impact digestive function. Like it's why we kind of went at it kind of a little bit aggressive when it first happened. But
Yeah.
at some phase, at some stage, you potentially have, not in all cases, but you start to see like, okay, let's watch, make sure there's no migraines happening. make sure that the blood pressure doesn't go up, make sure that kidney function isn't off, make sure digestive things don't start, going awry. Always kind of checking in on the breath, doing those things. And I'm wondering if it's like the situations that you're in, or maybe we're kind of entering that second phase where, it kind of has settled into the body, and there's just like this next phase that starts to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we treat it as if that's what's happening. Like
The
because
symptoms increase in that second phase.
what's that?
So symptoms can
Well,
return or
symptoms
increase?
symptoms they could potentially increase, but it's like almost like different symptoms can kind of come up. And so one type of headache is occipital neuralgia, which you kind of had in the early stages. And
Right.
so it kind of calmed down, and you would be like, well, maybe that just got agitated again. So this is what I'd say. Let's just talk it out for a minute, and then we'll kind of go from there. So one of the things that we like to do, like later in the phase, is it doesn't sound like you're having any gut issues, right?
My digestion has decreased by 50%. It's very sluggish now.
Right. Okay. So I don't want to take away the things that you're doing, but let's just add like a little tiny bit to it and see if this resolves it. We can do a thing that's it's not something that we have like on the site, but I have a thing where, like, when the digestive system is really depleted and really sluggish, this is like the way to jumpstart it. And it's like things that almost you would never blend together, but for this you blend them together. And it's a way to jumpstart that. But I'd say let's even hold off on that. Not for any reason, just don't want to overwhelm you with so many things to do more than anything. But the one thing that I think I'd like you to do is and you might already have these oils, in various kits, and maybe we can look this up for, like, as I was saying. One is allostasis, like blend allostasis. It's been in a few kits. But it's basically allows the body to go into the homeostasis mechanism, to shift out of that, and allows the body to change. And then we use something like valerian or spikenard as a restorative to the homeostasis mechanism. And what we do is we go like back and forth with those two oils, like you're just inhaling them and your awareness is just on your Ming Men. And because the Ming Men gets, which is the area opposite your navel on your back, so affects blood pressure, affects contributes to migraines, adrenal function, kidney function, low back issues. All of these things are associated with a particular center, and the center also takes energy from the lower centers and shoots it up to the head. And so if it becomes overactivated, it can cause the occipital neuralgia, or like a headache on the top of the head, or like you said, the angry nerves at the top of the head. That can be an issue. And so the going back and forth between those two, it basically kind of like drains the agitation out of the stress response. And it's really super specific to like trauma type situation. So here the car accident is the trauma. And it does make you a little tired for like a day or two. Like after you do it once or twice, then like the stress, you're able to shake the stress off, and then your energy levels pop back up. But at first, when you kind of calm down the stress response, you're also calming down adrenaline production. And so you'll be like doing it and you're like, yeah, I'm kind of relaxed. And then you'll go to bed and sleep for 12 hours. It's like one of those kinds of things. And so it's not a thing to do like right off the bat. But if the symptoms kind of keep having a momentum. Like think about it like that, is like whiplash, like if you can nip it right when it happens, the momentum kind of stops. But what I'm calling like a second phase or a third phase is the injury happens and there's like this momentum that kind of keeps happening in the body that you have to keep trying to pull back and reel in.
Mhm.
And a lot of times we can nail it, but depending on how bad the injury was, and you know, there's so many factors that you might be entering into like a second phase. And so those two oils, so either valerian or spikenard or like balance, she probably doesn't have balance, so probably spikenard or valerian. And then the other one is there's an oil that we don't talk about very much. It has kind of limited uses, but there's this oil called lantana. And, you know, usually it's used to treat like asthma and bronchitis and things like this. But one of the things that it's really good at is not so much in the acute phase, but like in a more chronic phase. It's very good for relaxing the sternocleidomastoid, which is the muscle that gets impacted in the whiplash. And basically, with that one, you just inhale it like a couple of times a day. Keep your awareness kind of at the bottom of your throat, the upper chest area, and it just keeps unwinding the sternocleidomastoid. Um, I think even there's like a chain reaction that happens. Like, for example, if you clench your jaws, that Ming Men will overactivate. Your solar plexus will overactivate, your adrenals overactivate. And so, like, if the tension in the jaws starts getting bad, it starts to agitate the adrenals. It starts to agitate the Ming Men. And so it starts shooting more and more energy up towards the head, can make you a little ungrounded, can make you a little clumsy. You know, it's just it's throwing the energy centers off. But I think maybe at the very least, let's maybe have you do lantana.
Okay, well, I have spikenard.
So okay, so do you have allostasis?
I think I have a tiny, like from a
Yeah,
class.
that's perfect. Yeah, that's all you got to do. So take the spikenard and the allostasis and
Uh-huh,
just you're inhaling it with your awareness on the Ming Men.
uh-huh.
Inhale it like 15 times, give yourself a break, then do the other one.
Okay,
Inhale it for about 15 times and then give yourself a break and then just keep going back and forth until you start going, you know, you just start
okay,
yawning like a crazy person, right? Um, and then I would say let's just like have you get lantana, and then you're just gonna, after you do that several cycles of that, then spend time just inhaling the lantana for a little while. You can inhale the lantana by itself, but it will really help to unwind the sternocleidomastoid.
okay. And I have one new symptom. For the first time in my life, I had two blood vessels burst in my left eye.
Okay.
The the bottom right quadrant of my left eye looks like a tomato.
Okay. Did they check your blood pressure?
My blood pressure's low. Yeah. My blood pressure is always really low, like 110 over 60 something.
How long ago did that happen?
It happened on it actually burst on Sunday night. On Saturday night, I saw the little vessel bulging right beneath my iris, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I hope that doesn't burst." And then it took 24 hours, and sure enough, my entire that quadrant of my eye is just red.
And you're not having that in the other eyes or anything like that?
No. And I don't remember anything going in my eye or scratching
No,
my eye or
it's
just
part of
all
this. Yeah,
internal.
it's part of this thing.
Okay.
Yeah. I think just doing the things that we talk about. We had you doing vetiver at the base of the skull. Are you still doing that?
No.
Did we have her doing that? I can't remember. Let's have you also, do you have some vetiver? Or if not
Yeah.
vetiver, use your spikenard. Take some spikenard and just rub it along the base of the skull.
Okay.
It'll help calm down that occipital neuralgia. And like when you do that, it helps to open up the neck and it calms down the nervous system a bit.
Okay. Because since it happened, I've just been inhaling helichrysum just in case.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good one to do. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
I
you're
mean, the
going
doctor said
to,
there's nothing I can do about it. It's just gonna
no.
2 weeks to get the blood done.
Yeah, like once it's happened, it's just kind of happened, you know,
Okay.
but um my thing is like what's that also reflective of?
Yeah.
I mean, I think if we just calm the things down that we're talking about, I think we're moving in the right direction. So put spikenard at the base of the skull, do the allostasis and the spikenard, and then at some point get lantana and just inhale that. It's a really inexpensive oil. It's not very expensive at all.
Okay.
Like
Thank you so
15 or
much.
$16 or something, you know. It's um I go through phases where I inhale it and then I don't, and then when I do, I'm like, God, my throat and neck feels so much better. But it doesn't really, like, it wouldn't have been the thing to do like right when you had the accident. But as time goes by and it starts to be something chronic, it's like, oh, let's unwind this.
Yeah, it's like my SCMs are memorizing this
Yeah, yeah,
terrible position, and
yeah.
yeah.
So like just to give you a like what you said, and in my early days when I was being trained more with osteopathic principles,
Mhm.
one of the first things we did, like regardless of what the condition was, we would go and check the sternocleidomastoid. You treated that before you treated anything else, because if that was off, it just starts causing all kinds of weird things in the body. So you treated that thoroughly, regardless of what the presenting symptoms were.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
I mean, back when I was looking at it, yours didn't look like horrible, but like that's the thing. Is like sometimes there's a momentum that keeps happening in the body because of like muscle imbalances and things. And your physical therapists are right on the money with doing all the stuff with the walking, because the the sternocleidomastoid, part of what it does is it will have a big impact on your gait. So like when you're walking, like a
Mhm.
lot of times when you're walking and you have a sternocleidomastoid issue, like, you know, you're doing your normal steps, and
Mhm.
then at one point one of the steps will go.
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I
That's
do.
because of your sternocleidomastoid. Like
Yeah.
your gait is totally dictated by a lot of the activity of your sternocleidomastoid. And so all those exercises that they're doing, it's like they're reverse engineering the effect that the sternocleidomastoid, you know, they're trying to affect it a different way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
So
it's
all those things are good. Like
okay.
you gotta just stay on it for a while. Like, you know, there's certain conditions where, like when you're healing it, it's, you know, you try to nudge the body into homeostasis and everything, and sometimes it's a bar fight.
Yeah, that's what
Whiplash
it
can
feels
be,
like.
yeah, whiplash can be a bar fight sometimes, where you
Yeah.
just got to keep like, you know, break the bottle and go at it. You just got to keep going at it for a while until it stops.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what it feels like. Thank you so much. Really
yeah.
appreciate
Keep
it.
keep us posted though, because if there's other weird symptoms, let's try to nip it in the bud before it gets worse.
Okay. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're so welcome.